Hello, beautiful soul, and welcome to another episode of Intuitive Creators Spotlight. I am Stella, your host, and I invite here beautiful intuitive creators who transformed their lives and now they committed to a journey of helping other people transform their lives too. Today, I have an incredible guest, Smita. She is an energy healer, a life coach, a therapist who has been empowering light workers and starseeds and those who want to embrace their journey of ascension since 2012. Hi, Smita. Welcome to this interview.
Hi, Stella. Thank you for having me. I'm really honored to be here.
It is super exciting because your work is very unique and you've been through quite a journey to get to where you are now. But I know that you started from corporate marketing and
That's
then
right.
you went from corporate marketing to energy healing. What was that moment in your journey when you realized, you know what, my life is changing? I need to honor that.
I think as growing up, I followed, getting a corporate career because at that, where I come from culturally, and also it was the done thing, going to university, getting a good job, and so that I thought that was my path. Um, but the universe had other ideas because the more I tried to stick with it, the more uh, I was being pushed in another direction, even though I didn't want to. I was just really resisting moving into a different path. And when I started doing something that I enjoyed, which I went into doing, one of my hobbies was exercise classes and um, Zumba in particular. And it's just something I love doing. And then I thought, right, I'll do a course in it. Um, and what happened was that more opportunities started opening up in the health and fitness area than in the marketing area. So I thought, well, I'm at a junction here where I've been offered a role working for a gym and, managing their exercises classes and teaching classes there. And I thought I could do this or go back into marketing. So at that point, I thought, I'm going to take a chance. I'm going to follow my intuition and follow where my heart is leading me. And I'm going to do what I enjoy. So I took a massive, huge pay cut and followed my heart and decided to do the exercise classes. So at that point, I knew that I was being led in a different direction, but it made my heart sing. And there's so much I enjoyed about teaching the classes, and I love teaching. I love being around people, and so it just brought me so much joy. And I never really had that before because I like marketing. Sure, I
Mm.
could do it, and I was good at it, but this is different. This is when you're doing something you really enjoy. It just brings something else out of you, and I felt like I was my real self then. So that was the
Yeah.
start of it because what we do is what part of our mission and the purpose with me and the light beings that I work with is to help people live our true light and purpose. So that point to me was the start of following my heart, following what my intuition was leading me to.
Mm. And your soul wanted to have fun and play
Yes,
and
yes.
and how amazing that you listen to that. Isn't it interesting how a moment like this comes in your life and you can't ignore this calling anymore. It's like it's constantly asking you to try something new, to go to a specific places. You meet certain people, and then you're like, okay, there is something there, and you discover so much more about yourself as well on this path. Now, I know that you mentioned being hypersensitive empath.
Mm.
For everyone who's watching us, maybe there is someone who is identifying as an empath. What does it mean when you say hypersensitive empath?
So for me, I had this since a very early age, and it feels what it feels like is that your energy feel extends outwards, and it's like Velcro, and it picks up everything in the environment from what other people are thinking, feeling, emotions, all of that. And you just pick up so much from your environment that can really drain you if you don't manage it properly. So I can pick up, so especially like going into busy places, like going into London or just shopping. My local area is Brighton. So when you go there, I can feel, if I don't manage my energy properly, I can feel very tired very quickly because it's picking up so much from the environment. Is literally, like I said, like the Velcro, but you're just picking up so much from everything around you, that it can feel like overstimulated
And has this
and
been challenging?
overwhelming.
Yeah. And has this been challenging at times for you as you're going through your transformation, or did you learn how to manage it at a very early stage?
No, I didn't find this out until I got into in the last 10 years, really, because what I didn't realize that I was picking up other people. I remember just this from a young age. Like if people were upset around me, I would feel upset as well. So if they were crying, I'd start crying. And I would feel what they feel, but I wouldn't be able to differentiate whether that was my own or someone else's. And a lot of the time I was picking up other people's things, but I also had my own too. But it would
Mm.
feel very overwhelming. So it was almost like you're not just like picking up what you're thinking and feeling, you're picking up what everyone around you is thinking and feeling,
Mm.
um, and their issues as well. So it can feel like it just, like I said before, like very overwhelming, and you feel overstimulated. You can't differentiate then what's your own and what's not. So
Mm.
when I learned that and how to release things that aren't your own, I did feel a lot better in myself.
What was something that worked for you when it comes to managing this? Because I'm sure this can be beneficial for anyone, like for someone who's watching us and maybe is going through the same.
I mean, a very quick thing you can do is just you say to yourself, I release anything that's not my own. And you can
Mm.
feel that literally fall away from you and you feel better in your own energy, but you feel so much more clearer and more focused. And you realize, okay, what this is my energy, that was something else I was picking up from before.
Mm.
Because you can, it not might not just be other people you pick it up from. It could be other things in what you might be watching on TV or other things going on in the environment, noise and things like that. So you can feel very sensitive to those kind of things.
And so I know that on your journey of healing, you have experienced cellular release therapy. What is that and how did that help you?
Okay, so when I was at the time I was doing the exercise classes, before that, one of the ways that I've released weight was through a book called the Gabriel Method, and that looked at ways of releasing the weight without dieting and getting to the root causes of what's going on with a person. And most of the time, they were emotional or trauma, or there could be a variety of different triggers, but a lot of them seem to be focused around those two areas. So one of the ways that people were able to deal with those issues when they were emotional or trauma related was cellular release therapy. That's one of the partners that they had, and then the other was tapping, EFT. So I, as a coach on that program, I had to know what cellular release was to be able to offer it to people. So that's when I first came across it. I think in probably about 2011, and one of the therapists there, she did the therapy on me. And what it does is it works with the subconscious mind. So it's a mode of hypnotherapy, but you're able to work with that deeper level of consciousness, the subconscious mind, and you do it through idiomotor signals. So your yes finger is the first finger, and then no for is your little finger. And that's how you communicate with that subconscious mind. So you can ask questions of it and then give a command to release that without having to relive it or re-experience it. So it can be a very effective way of releasing deep trauma, because I had some very bad things happen in my childhood and throughout my years that I didn't want to relive or even think about again. So that for me was a great way of releasing it. So it's almost like, imagine like you bringing your hard disk out and deleting the things that aren't serving you and then putting it back in again, then it reorganizes.
Wow, I love that analogy. It's I could just visualize it, everything which you explained, and it absolutely sounds powerful. And it sounds like it came in your life at
Yeah,
the right moment.
definitely. So then, as soon as I had that session, I thought I need to do this and I need to bring it here to you because there weren't many. I don't think there was anyone. I think I was probably the first one in the UK to have that and
Mm,
practice it on people. But I use that to release a lot of my trauma. Definitely.
mm.
And I think all the things that I trained in helped to some extent, and they all played a part in releasing the trauma. But this helped with some of the heavy stuff for sure.
So this was one of the most beneficial for you in your
Yeah.
experience.
And the good thing is that what I do now, it incorporates all the different therapies I've learned and does it, but more from a different angle because with the other therapies, you needed to know what the issue is. Whereas with what I do now, you don't need to know because the beings know, but they can release it, but at a much faster rate.
Mm. Wow, I just absolutely love these kind of messages because, as everyone who's watching us knows, this is a playlist with interviews with amazing intuitive creators. And when I hear, some of these incredible stories, to me, it's fascinating because I know I've experienced, in my own way, my own stories. And sometimes you tell people, and they're like, how did you experience that? Like, is this possible? And so I absolutely love when I hear from my guests as well that they've had these kind of experiences themselves. And you talk about beings and how they come and help you and help your clients. So, talking about your clients, what kind of people would you say are attracted to your energy and your work?
Um, I would definitely say people that are interested in, I'd say the starseeds, the light workers, the ones that are interested in that kind of um, level of spiritual awareness, if you like, and that have been
Hmm.
on that journey themselves. They're trying to better themselves. They're on the ascension journey. They're working on themselves to some extent, but or maybe they're stuck and they know that there's something else within them that needs to be brought out. So we help people to activate their soul gifts or the dormant soul gifts or help them to upgrade their abilities so they
Hmm.
do what they came here to do and be who they came here to be without all the stuff that holds them back.
Mm. That's very interesting. And so, there might be some beautiful people who are watching us and they say or think, yes, I know I am a starseed, so that's a known information for me. But there might be people who are watching this and they say, well, I heard of this term, and I'm not sure, like, how would I know if I am a starseed? What would you answer to what kind of answer would you share to this question?
I think yeah, I think if you've been interested in the star beam because they're a lot more prominent now, aren't they? Like there's a lot more talk about different races of aliens and I think most people have had lives before as on other planets. So I think many people who relate to this. It's just what they're open to. And I think there have been some very negative messages about how, it's like aliens are against us or whatever. And I think they're most of them are benevolent and they are willing to help us on our journeys. And it's just about opening up to that level of consciousness. So I'd say, even though you might not know you're a starseed, but I think the way that this therapy works, the way that this healing works, with light language, it's more of about a vibrational resonance. So if you feel you might not be you might not know what star beings are or light workers, but if you hear the light language and then there'll be a remembrance and you think, oh gosh, I can really relate to that, but I don't know how, I don't know why, but I feel tearful or I feel that really deep within me, or I feel that I know what that is, but I can't explain it. So
Mm,
if there's that kind of resonance, it doesn't matter if you don't fit into any of those categories. there might be something that you need from it, or there might be something that you might have connected to it before, or perhaps you might have that ability yourself, and you just need that little bit of help of getting bringing that out and sharing it with others.
And this is really beautiful that you're explaining it, because I'm sure, as you said, there is so much more talk about all of these things. More people are understanding that, well, actually, maybe there is something more to it, something that I've never thought about before, something that I might feel, but I wouldn't look deeper into. So these messages are really, really precious, especially for the times that we're living in, and when for the times when we hear so much information, positive, negative, and everything in between. And then we're like, okay, but what is true? And then I feel that we can only find the truth that is ours, our own truth, by going on this journey of self-discovery and exploration. And yes, it can take time. That's why we find people like you that know more about the subject. And to everyone who's watching us, just know that you can find contact details to know how you can connect with Smita, so that you can ask her all the questions about everything that she is sharing during this interview. So I know that at some point, and we had a conversation before, when you mentioned how you knew when light language came to you. Um, how did you feel in that moment? What changed for you?
So I've always, I've had a background of learning different things, and then like putting it out there as my, these are the things that I do, the services I provide, from an early age. But when I realized the light language coming through, this felt like, oh, this is my thing, my special thing. This is unique to me. And I always thought, when I look at others and how they have their own talents and gifts, and I thought, oh, I wonder what mine is. And I wondered that for so many years. And then I get to this in my 40s, and I thought it was wonderful. But how it started happening was when I was doing other therapies such as angelic Reiki and another healing modality, Pelua. This started happening, and I was drawing these symbols and codes. I didn't know what they were. It didn't. It just felt like my arm was doing it without me controlling it, but it felt natural. It didn't feel scary or anything like that. But I didn't know much about it. Didn't know why it was happening. And when I've talked to teachers about this, said that's not that therapy that you're doing. This is something else you're doing. Okay. And then I found one of the ladies that I follow online, and she does readings, and she does them for thousands of people. So she had a pick pile one, two, or three. So I picked the pile that I wanted, and she said three things in succession to me that really hit home. And I thought, wow, this is it. Because she said, is someone here having sinus issues? And I said, yeah, I've been having them for about 6, 7 weeks or so. And then she said, and are they also having like nerve issues down this right arm? And I thought, yeah, that's definitely happening as well. I've been having those for 3 weeks. And then she said, are you doing this with your hands? And she started doing the same kind of symbols as I was doing. And I thought, wow. And she said, that's because your light language is coming through. And that's when the kind of penny dropped. And I thought, oh, wow. And then I started looking more into what light language is and how it comes about, and then the voice started activating, and then I realized something was happening with my eyes. So, and then with the dialects, many it wasn't just one; there were several, and it felt like each dialect was a different being. So I knew that I was connecting to lots of different beings.
Mm. Wow. And I mean, you mentioned about picking up on energies in this human experience. I can only imagine like how many energies you connect with when you work with these beautiful beings. As you talk about this, can you share with us if you had one of the most maybe memorable conversations or interactions that you've had with these beings, and what that was?
Um, So one of the one of the things that we've helped, I mean, we do help people, we help animals, and we help can clear spaces as well. So one of the most interesting things that happened was one of my clients, she called me and she said, "Sweetie, you've got to help me. There's these, we can feel a presence in our space, and we've got a camera set up, and you can see these orbs flying around. You can see what they were." And she said, "We don't know why they're here. We don't know. It's scaring us. We're scared to be in the space, but we need to be here." And it was in their home, in the boyfriend's home. And so basically did a session, and it's like my guides could, my team, my light beings can pick up who these beings were, and I gave them evidence to support, a bit like it was kind of like a reading, but also like a healing as well. And then we helped that one of the spirits moved on, and then the other one was just checking in. So, and then it died down because the camera picked it up. So it's having that physical evidence to show, wow, this actually works.
Wow. And I can only imagine your client's reaction when they saw that this is something that works, but clearly they had their trust in you, and that's why they called you. That's what I'm saying. It's the type of work that intuitive guides and teachers and mentors do is absolutely incredible, because when we live in this human experience, we see a lot of things with our eyes, physical eyes, and even then we can't always see all the details, or we
Yeah,
might not see the like a particular angle that we need to look at. And so when we go into this invisible realm, of course, it's years and years of work and discovery and study and learning. But then when you go to someone like yourself who has so much experience, you know what you're talking about. You can just tune into that energy immediately and describe to the person next to you what that is. Just like if you think about the beginning of your journey, and I think about the beginning of my journey, there were lots of things that I had no clue about, and then we went to other people and mentors who helped us on our journey too. So I know that you mentioned that your approach is very creative. So how would you say this creativity or your creative approach is helping you in your healing practice?
I think it's I think because it draws on all the experience that I've had, like all the different therapies I've learned. But really having that trust and faith in my team and in me, that has helped. And just letting the energy do what it needs to do, rather than trying, I think because of, my what I've been through in my life, I had this element of control. And I think that was limiting me before, because then I couldn't see what we don't know, if you like. um, so letting go of that control to an extent has allowed me to trust and have that faith to bring in the energy that I work with, and let that creativity flow through me. But it's also been about healing. Like a lot of my trauma was connected with my sacral chakra, and that is, might know the sacral chakra is connected with your creative energy. So releasing a lot from that area helped the creativity flow again. Because I remember one time being quite good at art and things like that, and it's just starting to come back in again. So I'm like drawing symbols and painting them and infusing light language energy within the paintings, also infusing it into crystals, and so the healing can come through the crystal, or an activation, or whatever the upgrade is. So there's different ways that I'm finding that the light language energy can work through, which I never thought would have thought about.
If you think back now, especially in your career in the corporate world, it probably feels like a different lifetime.
Yeah, if you told me back then that you'd be doing this, I would have thought you were crazy. But I love how it's something very unique, and um, I just really enjoy working with that energy. I feel at one with it, and I feel like this is what I'm meant to do.
Mm. And that's such a beautiful feeling, isn't it? When you just know you're doing the right thing. And
Yeah,
sometimes it's like, even I was telling you before I started doing these interviews, I was like, I didn't know why I had to start connecting with all of these incredible people, but it was just that knowing that I had to do it. I had to do it. And I can see that my life became richer by learning so much from so many people and so many different stories. So I know that you incorporate future visioning and soul activation in your work. What does that mean? And how, like, say, for example, somebody comes to you and they're like, okay, I saw that you do soul activation. What does that mean? Like, how would you
okay.
explain that?
So the activating of the soul's gifts is to do with the light language. The future visioning is to do with the future life progression part, and so that's about finding where your future is and making the most of your potential in that way. Whereas the activating of the soul gift, so what we do with the light language is help people live their true light and purpose. So that is their, if you strip back everything that holds you back and you uncover your true light, I call it your true light, but that's your true self. So that's away from all the trauma, the difficult experiences, the dysfunctional beliefs, the cultural conditioning, all of that that stops you from being who you're meant to be, who you were born to be in this life, and what you're meant to be doing, and not clouded by anyone else's thoughts of what you ought to be or should be, right?
Mm,
So when you're connected with that, you can then uncover other things that you're open to when you're living from your true light and purpose. So that's when we can assist you with opening up to your soul's gifts that may be dormant, that may be in the background, but ready for you to activate now that you're being more of your true self. Like this is how it's the exact same thing that happened to me, uncovering all of that stuff to be my true self, and then my true gifts came through.
mm. Yes, and they come through when you really open up to this information, flow of information, because something that I always say, the universe, divine power will never like barge into your space, like really invade your space unless you give permission.
Yeah,
And it doesn't even have to be at like a word level. You don't even have to say, but when you start reading certain books about certain types of entities, energies, all of these things, it's like you're inviting that in your space. And so when we say, okay, actually, I'm interested to know more about myself, what is my essence? Then I think when we become so curious, there is so much more that can come through. And thank you for doing this work. And thank you for helping so many people activate or remember their gifts as well. Because sometimes, because of the conditioning that is around us, it may feel like, oh, who am I to look there or do that or whatever. And your story is an example of like, you know what? I just decided to listen to my own guidance and go through with what I knew I had to do. So if there is anyone who's thinking, well, all of this sounds fascinating and definitely I want to look more into who I am and the light language sounds amazing and soul activation and light beings, but there is a blockage there. I don't know how to overcome that. I don't know where to start from. What would you say is the first step for someone to start looking deeper into who they are? Is there a first step?
well, I think the first thing is definitely acknowledging it. And once you know that you're in a place where you want to move forwards from this, I think that, and that's the first step really is like saying, okay, this is there, but I actually want to move forward because some people can be comfortable where they are, and that fear of change can stop them from moving forward. So what the light language can do is help to release any kind of any blocks, any static or stagnant or frozen energies, and or resistance or self-sabotage, because these are the energies that stop us absorbing more light into our bodies and
Mm,
they keep us stuck, right? So by clearing these away, we can then absorb more light. And when you're doing that, you are feeling more uplifted. You've got this positive spiral going on in your life where you can um, work towards your true aligned purpose, right?
absolutely.
Path and be you feel more true to yourself. So you're just on that journey of like transcending all these limitations that you had before to be who you came here to be and do what you came here to do.
Oh, what a beautiful message. Thank you so much for that, Smita. And thank you for being an amazing guest for my playlist, for my
Thank
interviews.
you for having me. It's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you.
Thank you so much to everyone who's watching us. If you're new to our channel, please take a moment to subscribe, like this video, let us know your thoughts, and check out the description of this video to know how you can connect with Smita and myself. I'm sending you loads of positive vibes, and I'll see you again soon.